On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, I've handpicked 5 more top crypto news stories for you today, plus I'm going to do a chart of the day segment again today, so that'll be 6 segments in total. And in terms of the chart of the day, we're going to revisit Veritaseum because that pattern we were talking about yesterday is playing out. Now, the 5 top news stories today include EOS being 17,000 times more energy efficient than Ethereum. 100 Chinese investors have apparently got together and are accusing Elastos of fraud. The Exodus wallet supports instant exchange of all the various cryptocurrencies it supports, but exchanges them for TrueUSD, the stablecoin. Chinese court rules in favor of Bitcoin, and the Indian Supreme Court is pressuring its central bank to make its mind up about crypto guidelines in the country. So timestamps for all of that is down in the video description, as always, if you want to skip ahead to whatever you're interested in. And if you're new around here and you would like to get paid in crypto for watching the show and get rid of ads, well, you can check out the website, which is thecryptoverse.show. Click on that big blue button in the top right hand corner that says Get Paid to Watch, and there is a 2-minute video that explains how that works. But for now, on to the first story, which is EOS is 17,000 times more energy efficient than Ethereum, according to this analysis that's been done by Genereos Australia. So it actually is a Medium post from them that says EOS energy consumption versus Bitcoin and Ethereum, claiming it to be like 66,000 times more efficient than Bitcoin and 17,000 times more energy efficient than Ethereum. This is true, but only it's not really a fair comparison because Ethereum and Bitcoin use proof of work, which is a system that requires the consumption of large amounts of energy by nature. It's kind of required in order for it to work. While EOS, on the other hand, uses delegated proof of stake, a completely different consensus mechanism which only requires the consumption of enough electricity to run the servers. You know, I am an EOS fanboy, so don't get it wrong, but you could pick almost any other cryptocurrency that uses delegated proof of stake and draw the same comparison. So it's not necessarily EOS that is 17,000 times more energy efficient than Ethereum. It's more like delegated proof of stake is 17,000 times more efficient than proof of work. However, we know Ethereum is also moving to a proof of stake mechanism, so this comparison is only really valid until then. For now, though, EOS does have this edge. Next story. Some bad publicity for Elastos, as 100 Chinese investors have apparently got together and written this white paper detailing 8 specific counts of fraud and manipulation. Now, the original white paper was written in Chinese. Here it is. I'll link to this down in the video description if you happen to read Chinese. I have run it through a machine translation, and I'll link to my machine translation as well into English. And on page 8 here, on page 2, it does list 8 complaints in summary and then goes on to detail them in detail. However, because this is a machine translation, I can't really extract the clear meaning from it. Normally, I'll give some interpretation and comment, but the machine translation is so poor that I can't really do that fairly. So what I did do was I sent a tweet out to Michael from Box Mining asking him to interpret it. So we'll see if he comes back with anything. My understanding is that Michael can read Chinese, so he'll probably be able to give us a much better translation than Google Translate. Next story. Did you know that the Exodus wallet supports instant exchange to and from all of the various currencies that it supports, but into the TrueUSD stablecoin? So what I'm going to show you is a screenshot from inside my own Exodus wallet. You see what I did here was I proposed a trade of 4.7 Decred for TrueUSD, and then took a screenshot to prove this is in fact possible. So I've been talking a lot about stablecoins lately, and someone yesterday asked about TrueUSD, so that kind of prompted me to talk about this. I know a lot of people do use the Exodus wallet. However, now the benefit of TrueUSD being supported by Exodus is that you can do trades in and out of the dollar without ever putting your funds at risk on an exchange. Since you take your Decred, in my case, it goes out to the exchange, gets traded and comes back in TrueUSD, stablecoin, and then when you're ready to buy something else, same thing happens. you only lose control of your crypto for a few minutes before whatever you've traded for comes back into your Exodus wallet. So at all times, by default, you are in control of that crypto. The only downside, of course, is that the TrueUSD is again backed by dollars in reserve. The difference with TrueUSD, though, is that those dollars are held in trust, which is something, but still, it's not ideal. On to the next story. Chinese arbitration court says Bitcoin should be legally protected as property. Now again, here's another original document in Chinese. So what I've done instead, it's probably better for us to use the CoinDesk article as the source here if you prefer the English. Now, while this Chinese central bank, it maintains a ban on cryptocurrency trading and a ban on ICOs in China, the Shenzhen Court of International Arbitration has ruled that Bitcoin should be legally protected as personal property. So the court said there is currently no law in China that prohibits the possession of Bitcoin or its transfer between individuals. Now, if you're interested, someone basically gave someone else a bunch of their crypto to manage for them, and then the other person refused to give them it back. So that's why this court case ended up with arbitration in the first place. I think this is ultimately good news because we've kind of gained some legal territory in China with this ruling, since it can be used as a precedent going forward. And speaking of courts disagreeing with other parts of governments, next story. Indian Supreme Court gives the government 2 weeks to submit its cryptocurrency report. So this was reported by Bitcoin.com. So here's the headline here, talking about the Indian Supreme Court giving the government 2 weeks to submit the guidelines that they promised way back. So the situation in India is that since April, the central bank has prohibited financial institutions from providing services to crypto businesses. After the ban, the central bank was supposed to set up a committee to study the cryptocurrency space and then provide a set of guidelines by the 11th of September. Apparently, they haven't delivered that report, so the Supreme Court is kind of saying, come on now guys, stop stalling. You're 6 weeks late. We'll give you another 2 weeks to deliver that report and then you're in trouble. That's not a quote, by the way. That's my interpretation. Meanwhile, the Indian crypto community at large have decided to march on, which is evident when you look at the peer-to-peer trading volumes in Indian rupees. So let's take a look at that, shall we? This data is provided by CoinDance, and this data comes from local Bitcoins. So on the far left of this chart, you see the 23rd of March is where it begins, which is just before the banking ban in April. That kind of prevented centralized exchanges from being able to do business. And as we see as the chart moves to the right-hand side here, there is a clear uptrend in volume. Now, this is the same phenomena that I referred to on Wednesday's episode of the Cryptoverse. I said you cannot accomplish anything by force. And in this case, it is the will of the Indian people to use cryptocurrency. And putting obstacles in their way, the only thing that's going to do is slow them down at best. So, as long as the Indian people want to move in that direction, they will continue to do so. Philosophically, this ultimately comes down to the collective ego of the Indian government causing the problem. So the people have a peaceful desire to do one thing, but the government doesn't want to lose any of its power and control, which is why they are asserting their will in the opposite direction. In my mind, though, this is the equivalent of a giant glacier sliding down a hill, and then the government basically standing in front of it in an attempt to hold it back. That's all for the news segment. Now let's move on to the chart of the day. We're going to look at Veritaseum again against Bitcoin. So let's hop back over to the chart. Now, it appears I was a bit too conservative yesterday with regards to how long this pattern would take to play out. I've now tweaked my drawings of this cup and handle pattern that I spoke about, showing that these daily candles actually were forming the handle as investors took profits and paused the rally on the lower volume that I spoke about. Now it looks like we're off again. This bullish momentum that we saw at the final stage of the cup forming. Again, remember yesterday I said that a cup and handle is classically a bullish continuation pattern. So bullish, pause, and then continuation of bullish movement. And that seems to be what's happening now, and my pink arrow is depicting that. So the next thing we want to see here is increasing volume to confirm that the market majority agree that the price should go higher. That's basically what we want to see. So at this point, the trading opportunity is pretty much past, since the window of opportunity for buying is when investors are selling off, and that's where the handle forms. So that's what you get for being overly conservative, but I'm fine with that personally, because the secret to success in trading is not to focus on making gains, but rather to minimize losses. And if you don't understand that, I highly recommend you take my Master Cryptocurrency course that I created. But that's all I've got for you today. So if you like this episode, go ahead and hit that like button. If you disliked it, well, hit the dislike button. Please leave me a comment below with some feedback, and I would very much appreciate it if you would get subscribed. And once again, if you would like to get paid in crypto for watching the show and get rid of adverts, all you need to do is head over to the website, thecryptoverse.show, click on this big blue button that says get paid to watch, and it'll explain exactly how that works. I do hope you'll join me later today for the weekly live stream where we have Martin Weiss and Juan Villaverde from Weiss Ratings and Weiss Cryptocurrency Ratings coming on the show to be interviewed live and answering your questions. But other than that, I'll be back with the live stream later on today or the next episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.